Happy Sunday, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. I am your host, Tony Twist. This is ATW, All Things Wrestling. And I am joined by my brand new co-host, live from the West Coast, Los Angeles. Proud to announce, who are you?
The one and only. You already know. No, I'm just kidding. Heel Liz. You guys already know. Hey.
Well, good morning.
Happy Sunday. Good morning. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we got a great guest coming on today.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, he's a pro wrestling photographer, so I can't wait to get into that. But hey, the big news this week, and we'll get more into the show, was the official, even though he kind of already has been, Triple H retired this week. He announced he is officially done and will never, ever return to the wrestling ring. He had a heart attack last year. It was pretty bad, and it looks like it pretty much ended his career. He hasn't done too many public appearances, but he was on ESPN talking about he was officially done. So shout out to Triple H. I grew up in the Attitude Era, so Triple H was definitely one of my favorites. What about you?
Oh, absolutely. I was stunned by the news, but it was coming due because of his heart attack of last year. Really bummed to see that happen. I thought he would probably come back in the ring maybe one more time, but health issues, and unfortunately he needs to take care of himself. He has a family. So I thank you to Triple H for everything that he's done. He was a big part of my childhood as well, growing up liking wrestling and stuff. So I was pretty bummed out, but I'm glad to see that he's okay. He's happy, everything. I'm pretty sure he's, not wanting to step back a little bit. Seeing him step away from NXT was a bummer. But I'm just glad he's doing good and he's happy where he's at right now. He got to leave, how he wanted, in a sense. So thank you, Triple H, for everything that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, definitely huge in the Attitude Era. One of my favorites. You said childhood. That just shows my age. I wasn't a child during the Attitude Era. definitely a little older, but we'll talk about that later. But hey, if you're just joining us, we are live on our YouTube channel, ATW All Things Wrestling, on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Twitter. We're at your neighbor's house. Tune in right now because we got a great guest and we're about to bring him on. He is a pro wrestling photographer. Mr. Ed Simons also goes by Dead Lumens. Good afternoon, because you are in New York.
That's right. Thank you very much for having me. Totally, I'm happy to be here and appreciate it.
Yeah. So, man, I love the setup going on in the back there. It looks like you're like at a studio where some musicians are about to cut an album. I mean, I'm digging everything you got going on back there. So tell me about your pro wrestling photography. You got a background in lighting,
sure,
music industry. I want to hear all about it.
Wear a lot of different hats, but currently I work with the National Wrestling Alliance as their portrait photographer. I've been there for, I guess, over 2 years. I started right before the pandemic. Like our first taping that I was involved with was in January, and then we were getting ready to do the Crockett Cup, and then the pandemic happened, and then we were kind of press pause. But yeah, I've been there, and I'm really enjoying it. Prior to that, outside of wrestling photography, I also work I work with lighting designers and architects, helping them specify lighting for whether it's hotels, houses, offices, etc. I also program controls. So like if you go into an office building or anywhere and the light turns on, whether it's a bathroom, a conference room, whatever, I help do that. And then in a prior life, I was a musician as well. I move out of here, there's some guitars. As you can see, I got a microphone, and yeah, just trying to live life and be creative and have a good time while I'm doing it.
Well, a pro wrestling photographer. So I got to ask, which passion came first? Was it pro wrestling, photography? Was it kind of around the same time? Did you grow up watching wrestling? I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. I'm 41. I've been watching wrestling since I was about 5 years old. So,
absolutely, I've been a fan my whole life. As far as I can remember, I think my first wrestling memories are the Slammies, like with Ravish and Rick Rude, and Strippin, and the Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Harley Race fighting backstage, and all that kind of stuff. WrestleMania 3, I think, comes to mind too. But yeah, my brothers like wrestling, my cousins liked it. So yeah, I mean, I've always loved wrestling. Yeah, it's been magic. Photography stuff didn't come till much later in life. When I was a musician, we did things like the Warped Tour, and I went to Japan and did stuff like that. And we had various photographers come with us, and I've always been passionate about how it looks. My grandfather loved photography as a hobby, so when after you tour for like 10 years and you're not making really a lot of money or any money, because there's a million other people that have to get money before you do. I went back to school, and then I took a photojournalism class, and one of the requirements was you had to buy a camera. So I did it, and it just kind of blossomed from there. That was like maybe 15 years ago.
Wow.
So, it's been a magical journey. I'm a very fortunate person where I've gotten to have like multiple acts in my life, and this photography thing has been really cool. And I just love the fact that you can capture something, and then later on, not to sound dark or whatever, but it's still there. So like I have lots of photos from my grandparents and then their parents and stuff like that because of photography. I mean, any documentary you watch about something old, there's always like pictures of it. So it's a passion, and the fact that I get to marry that to professional wrestling is, it's a beautiful thing.
So how did that come about? So tell me, like,
sure,
where was the first pro wrestling gig that you were taking pictures of? Were you just a fan taking pictures ringside somewhere? Like, how do you break into the pro wrestling photography business?
Some people are going to be very angry about this, but
that's all right. We could stir it up here.
I mean, there's lots of people that have done like local shows, set up the ring and stuff like that. I'm just very fortunate that my wife is a lot cooler than I am, and she worked for WWE for a period of time as their social media person. So she'll go to all the house shows, take pictures, and post it. I mean, when she was there, Instagram, Snapchat, and Vine were the social media things or whatever. She wasn't there too long, but she met a bunch of people there, and then connected with a bunch on LinkedIn. Dave Lagana, who used to be partners with Billy Corgan, asked her to do the socials for NWA, and she just was like, hey, my husband's a photographer, he'll do it for free. Just he loves photography. And
you're like, thanks.
Well, yeah. So I did that, and they have a decent amount of crew there, but they had a portrait photographer. At the time they didn't have a ringside photographer. One of the dudes was kind of doing that, but also doing video. A gentleman by the name of Dan Schramm. Like anytime you see any slow motion stuff, it's him or another guy, Ari Dalton. They both do fantastic work. But so I was just going under the bleachers, like at the GPP studios, and I was just going through a hole and then taking a bunch of photos, and they came out pretty good because at the time they didn't want to be seen on camera. And then they liked what happened, and then I guess the portrait photographer that they had didn't want to do it anymore, so they're like, hey, would you mind moving over to portraits? We'll pay you and all that stuff. And I was just like, awesome, absolutely. Do you have any experience doing portraits? And I was like, oh, absolutely. But between you and myself, I didn't, so like I bought a bunch of lights. Like I said, I work in lighting, so like I kind of have an understanding about lighting, but like in the sense of the different lighting setups or whatever. I mean, I didn't have really a clue, but I just, even the photos that I do now, there's no specific, formula I use. It's just kind of based off of the energy that I feel from it. But I said yes to it, and they liked the results, and, knock on wood, I'm still doing it. And yeah, so like, I mean, I'm super blessed. I didn't really, I guess it just pays to know somebody for me, it did anyway. So And it's such a
That's
small space too. Like there's like, you know, really a small amount of companies that you know need a portrait photographer. So,
right.
you know, just to be even in and considered is amazing.
Oh,
That's a
absolutely.
crazy story. So you kind of like fake, you know, when somebody says fake it till you make it, that was kind of what you did, right? You're like, yeah, oh, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the lighting portion. I mean, you know, I know the camera and stuff like that, but like you know, I mean, I watched a million videos and then I bought a bunch of lights and I still continue to add lights to it. But, you know, yeah, I mean, I did it. And I think every time that I do it, it gets better. You know, I mean, always very critical of it, but you know, I mean, as a photographer, without the lighting or whatever, you know, you're always paying attention to the lighting, whether you realize it or not. Oh, stand over here, move this, you know, go next to the window, the light shining on the side of your face. You know, it's just kind of incorporating the natural lighting world into like, and then you completely manipulate it. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. I had a question going back to your energy, and you're saying that you go based off of the energy for when you take your photographs.
mhm.
What is it? What does it feel like when you're taking the energy coming from just introducing them having just taking their picture when they're first coming out before they come out, and then say they were to win the championship? How is that energy? Is that energy different? Do you, or is it just on a how do you kind of, I guess, where does your image come from when it comes to them just stepping up and being like, I just won this championship, and you're like, okay, let's take pictures? How does
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying. I mean, everyone has like their own energy, you know. A lot of times, like we don't know what happens, you know. So they'll just anytime that someone at an event has a title, they'll just say, "We need pictures with and without titles." You know, I mean, it's every
okay.
single one, and then there's a bunch of tapings where nothing happens, and then there's tapings that something does happen. So,
Mm.
you know, when it's just posing with the title, I mean, each person kind of radiates their own thing and their height and the clothing that they wear and you know the mood that they're in that specific day. Anytime you know I just try to feed off that kind of thing, and then you know anytime anyone wins a championship, it's like you know they're super happy just because it's like anytime there's a championship involved it means you're at a certain level, you know. So you know what comes to mind immediately is Matt Cardona, right? I mean he's relevant right now, you know. So like it was some NWA one night event. Usually I don't go to those things. I'm like, why are they telling me to go to this? Usually it's a taping. We do all the photographs and stuff, but I'm just like, okay, it means that they like my work and whatever. So no idea that Matt's winning it. And then, you know, normally I will break down at the end of it, but I was just like, something's up here. So, you know, he won it and like, you know, he's just super duper duper happy, like toothy grin. Like, so when I see that, it's just like, it makes me happy, you know? So I'm just like, okay, he's smiling. I want to get his teeth. I want to get his eyes. I want to, and you know, he's sweating like crazy. So like sweat and muscles and light, it just goes together, you know? So, you know, for me, I'm just trying to, in my mind, that's the main goal is to capture those kind of three things or whatever. And then once those are done, then it's like, I try to do a little, you know, creative kind of thing or whatever, where like he'll just be with the belt posing and I'll just kind of take a candid shot while I'm pretending to adjust the lights, you know? So like there's one of them where he has the title looking down at it, you know, and I'm just like, hey, ignore me. I'm just messing with the light. Okay. You know, and then I'll take a couple pictures that way, you know? So, you know, I love those things just because, you know, for the rest of, you know, his life, my life, or whatever, we're connected in that moment when he has that picture of you know him holding the title or any talent for that matter.
So
Have you had a particular moment? Sorry, Tony.
no, go ahead.
I'm
No,
sorry,
go ahead.
sorry.
I was just
Have
gonna
you had a
piggyback off that, but all right, it's all
Mhm.
good. Go ahead.
Oh no, same. I was just gonna ask, have you had a moment to where you actually seen it and you didn't capture it, or you were just like, darn, that would have been a perfect moment for me to capture?
There was when Trevor Murdoch won his championship, he didn't want to have any pictures taken, just because like fought long hard match and he wanted to look clean. You know, some people hate having their picture taken after a match, which, you know, because they're like red and then there's chop marks all over their chest and a lot of stuff. I wish that I was able to. Fortunately, Kiban, who does the ringside photography, just like went up to him randomly. He has a beer and the title, and just shot it, and it was perfect. So I was super jealous that he got that, but at the same time, I'm just happy that he captured it. But yeah, I mean, I wish I would have been able to do that, because then the shots that we got, he looked, it was, the next day we took pictures or whatever, but like it wasn't that raw emotion, and that, his story of being in WWE and working independently and then coming to the NWA, and the story that he and Nick had, it was just like a beautiful thing. And I just wish I would have been able to capture it right after that, because I mean, backstage he's surrounded by his friends and family, and like sometimes you just need to let a situation breathe, and for that he's with his wife and his kids, and sometimes you just kind of have to back off. So yeah, that was for me probably the one that I'm just like, oh man, but he Bon caught it, and it's probably one of my favorite pictures ever at NWA, when I didn't take it. So I mean, it's it was just a beautiful moment. So
now, when you're taking pictures, like when you have like this photo shoot, because seeing all the pictures you had taken from the Crockett Cup, right? That's where these pictures were taken at.
The ones that most recently, yeah. I mean, I have that's just me scratching the surface. I mean, there's probably 3,000 photos that I still have to go through. But
now, when you're at a photo shoot like that, are the wrestlers, are they staying in character? Are they kind of breaking character when you guys are just kind of talking and just trying to get them to be natural, or kind of like you're saying, just kind of feed off their energy? Are they kind of talking to you at the same time? And like, how does that kind of go?
Every person's different, but for the most part, like when I press the button, they're in character ish, like if for established people like Chris Masters, right? He's never, I'm nice guy, totally, but he's always going to be like super jacked dickhead, like on screen, huge muscles, smug, like, but beforehand we just like, he loves basketball. So we might shoot the shit about, he'll talk about the Lakers or whatever. But when I have to press the button, it's like, okay, I know that you are really not a face or a baby or whatever, he just has that look. For me, the most exciting part is like with younger talent. So they'll have like NWA USA or Superpower or whatever, where younger folks that are trying to get into the business are on that program. I love working with those people, because I'll ask them just like, are you this? Are you that? What's your character? And then we'll kind of just work together on, what would look interesting. Cause some of them don't even know, it'll be like their first like professional photo shoot. So they don't know how to act or react. But for the most part, I would say, everyone is like, just like, up until we start posing and stuff, they're just normal, down to earth, like, and always, when can you get me these? Can I get these soon?
Right.
Can you get me something so I can post today? It's like, okay.
Now, being that you're a legit wrestling fan, is there any wrestlers that you're kind of like a little starstruck and you're like trying to separate, you're working and trying to take pictures of them, but you're like being a fan, like you just kind of want to, you want to geek out a little bit? Like, is that kind of hard to do?
Yeah. Like I kind of talked about before, being a musician, I've had photo shoots where I'm the person being, having my picture taken. And I've been on like tours where lots of famous people are, and it's the same with wrestling. I want to just come up to you and like say, oh my God, this is so cool. But when you do that, then people kind of get freaked out a little bit. So it's like the mentality of act like you've been there, So like, I got to take pictures of Mick Foley, and inside, like, I'm just like, oh, this is so freaking awesome. I'm so lucky to just like be in your presence, But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, Mr. Foley, I just want to say my name is Edward. I'm the portrait photographer here. Can we grab a photo? And he's in his Saint Nick outfit. Jeff Jarrett, another one that I shot over recently. And I'm inside. I'm a huge Double J Mark. So I'm just like, wow. And then even Billy Corgan, just the first time I saw him at the January 2020, you know, like I said, I'm 40 or I'm about to be 40. So like Smashing Pumpkins is the go-to of the 90s learning how to play guitar thing. So it's just like, yeah. So seeing him the first time, I was like, holy fucking shit. I was just at this guy's concert a year ago at Madison Square Garden, sold out. And
Right.
there he is right there. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, man. You know, I want to say something, but then it's like the classic, act like,
Right.
you know, and then all of them appreciate that too. You know, I mean, I saw Davy Boy Jr. or and then I mean, normally I don't say anything, but I'm just like, hey, I just want to say that, you know, I loved your dad. And when Shawn Michaels beat him for the European Championship, I was very upset about it. You know, it really pissed me off. You know, he's like, oh, you know, I appreciate it, blah, 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 you know. But yeah, I mean, inside I want to scream, but the professional in me is just like, if I don't do that, then they're more than likely to talk to me on that professional level versus the fan kind of thing.
Yeah, you totally took a question right out of my mouth, because I was going to ask, being that you have a music background,
Sure.
and being that we're the same age, you know,
Uh-huh.
in the high school and stuff, listening to Smashing Pumpkins, how was that like meeting Billy Corgan? Like, yeah, you want to play it cool. You're like, oh, yeah, I know who you are. Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah, I heard some of that growing up. You know,
Oh,
it's like,
yeah, you know, I never really talk about it with him. I mean, he's so busy every taping, like he, you know, he's hands-on in every single part of what goes on there. But he's always friendly, and I just want to sometimes say that stuff to him, but I don't. One thing, when we came back from the pandemic, Pat Kenny, who is the, you know, head of talent relations or whatever, is a huge music fan. So him and Billy will just go at it sometimes. And I was walking. Pat Kenny is also Simon Diamond, if anyone doesn't know that. But yeah, he was just like, "Who's your favorite guitar player?" And I'm just like, you know, I like Jimmy Page, I like Jimi Hendrix, love Brian May. All those are wrong. Van Halen is the greatest guitar player ever. So then I'm just walking with him talking, and then, you know, we go to the ring and Billy's just standing there, and then he's like, this kid doesn't know what he's talking about, you know, but Van Halen is the best guitar player ever. He's like, wow, well, what did he say? You know, and I said, he's like, no, you got to respect that. Those are all, you know, great guitar players and stuff. So like, you know, talking to me like as an equal inside, I'm just like, oh my God, dude, he's fucking talking to me. He's sweet, you know, and then, you know, I did his photo shoot over the, you know, I guess it was 2 days ago or whatever. And it's always the same thing, you know, it's just like, shit, man, play it cool. And then he's there, and I mean, he has like an aura about him. So it's just like, okay, wow, that was cool, you know. And then, you know, he leaves the photo shoot, and I'm just like, I didn't adjust one fucking light to him, you know. I mean, the pictures came out fine and all that stuff, but I'm just like, stop being a fanboy, dude. You got a job to do. You got to do it well. So, you know, I mean, they came out nice, but he did a couple things, and, you know, I was just kind of, you know, like I said, I mean, I'm almost 40, but sometimes I'm still like 16 at heart, you know? So it's just like, you know, I'll get him next time. But, you know, the photos came out nice. And just in general with all those things, it's like, yeah, he is Billy Corgan, but he also is the, you know, the Vince McMahon of NWA. So you kind of got to fall in line and do what he asks. So
I would have never have, you know, when I first heard that Billy Corgan bought NWA, took over NWA, I was shocked. I was like, what? I was like, the guy from Smashing Pumpkins, he's now running a wrestling organization. I mean, that in itself has got to be kind of a weird, like when you're seeing him there, you're like trying to remember like what's happening here. Like I'm backstage at, you know, this is a major wrestling organization. I'm here with Billy Corgan. Like that's got to be a little weird, right? Like, what was the first time kind of seeing that, especially you being a musician and growing up listening to him? That had to have been a little strange, right?
It was, but I remember him doing the stuff for Impact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's when I really kind of got into Impact. Like I tuned on Impact or TNA when they went to the Monday night thing against WWE or whatever.
Right.
And then I was just like, it kind of like it was there for like a cup of coffee, and then it went away. And then someone said something about Billy Corgan being involved with it. And I I was watching it. I loved the Matt Hardy stuff, Matt and Jeff, Nero, and all that stuff, and he had his hand in that. So I understood, and then there was whatever happened with his relationship with Dixie and stuff like that. I don't really know the ins and outs of it or whatever. But I mean, he's been around wrestling since ECW. I mean, his passion for wrestling is like almost equal, maybe not as equal, but like, he has a great appreciation for it. Before 2 tapings ago, I'd call him just to ask, hey, is there a certain thing that you're going for image wise or lighting wise? And, he would reference like old 50s magazines and 60s magazines and photographers from that period. So like his knowledge is super rich and passionate about it. So at first it was weird just because you're like, Smashing Pumpkins guy, what? But when you actually talk to him and listen to him talk about it, I mean, he really lives and breathes and sleeps, wrestling in addition to music and stuff.
Huh. Yeah, that's fascinating. To me, that's really fascinating. When I think about stuff like that. Now, is your wife still in the business, or?
No, my wife left WWE and then did the little short thing for NWA, but she has a job with Gary Vayner for Vayner Media.
Mm-hmm.
He's, and she is like a strategist. I think she's a VP of strategy. So I mean, she has a really important role, and like time, it just doesn't, mix. So
Right. Yeah, I was just curious. I didn't know if she wasn't necessarily with WWE, but if she was still in the business. And
some people are meant for the road, the travel, and
right.
all that stuff, and then other people aren't. I mean, she had a good run with it or whatever, but it's not the how do I say this? She's just not cut out for that lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean that's the lifestyle. We've talked to so many different pro wrestlers, ring announcers. We had Jimmy Smith from Monday Night Raw. We had him on the show a while back, and his travel schedule was just insane. Like, I can't live out of a suitcase. I can't be on the road like that. I couldn't imagine. They would just think it would just be exhausting. And, especially, back in the day, WWE, they were on the road 300 plus days. I mean, these guys never saw their families. They never went home. It was like the once in a while they'd see their kids. I think a lot of things have changed, in the industry when it comes to that. And, I just, being on the road for me, it's just something I was like, man, I would love that lifestyle, being a pro wrestler and this and that. But then you think about it and you're like, yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a certain kind of, person to live that life in a suitcase in a hotel, every single day, just a different city. But like, you get a routine, you're at, a hotel, you go to the venue to see where it's at. And then, then you're just kind of just waiting, until the thing versus like, oh, I want to, watch this. I want to go here. I want to go to my friend's house. My brother's getting married. My grandmother died. You know what I mean? Like you miss out on a lot of those types of things. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing that you can be able to make those towns and do those things, but then it's also like very lonely too, isolated from your family. Like some people that's okay, and then other people just it's not meant for them.
Right. Now, do you have any children currently?
Nope, just we have a daughter coming on July 16th. That's our first, so I'm super excited, scared, and a multitude of different emotions, but I'm totally pumped for it.
Well, congratulations. So is anything going to change once babies come? Are you not going to travel as much? What's your travel schedule look like now with working with NWA?
It's usually I'm away like 5 times out of the year, usually for like 4 or 5 days, sometimes 6. So okay. Like, let's just say I think the scheduling is going to be ramped up a bit more now too. So let's usually like 35 to 40 days out of the year.
Okay.
So it's not like crazy, but it's still like a decent chunk of time too, like for my regular job, which is super nice about it. But like 5 days in a row is not for every everyone, relationship wise or whatever. But my wife, having gone through it, is okay with it. With post baby, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I plan on being out for the most part. I mean, I think immediately I'll take, miss a loop or two or something like that. It's a conversation that still needs to be had, but
you're hearing it here first. So if your wife's listening, she's like, yeah, we definitely got to have that conversation.
Well, we've talked about it. We didn't say like when I go back and stuff like that. So we're in the discussion period of it. So we'll see.
So being that you work with NWA, are you a fan of AEW, WWE? Are you watching Impact still? Like, it's WrestleMania week coming up, and
yeah,
this is the time of year.
Absolutely, yeah, I watched them all. AEW and WWE. WrestleMania season is upon us, and I'm excited for it. It'll be interesting to see, everything that happens with it. I'm not like, oh, you have to like this or hate this. I just like wrestling. So,
right.
Whatever brand it is, what, as long as they're telling a story and the characters are relatable and like funny or serious or whatever, then I'm into it. The branding is irrelevant to me.
Yeah, sometimes fans, they get a little too caught up with, oh, why is WWE doing this? And it's like a lot of the backstage stuff that, obviously we talk about on this show, but try not to get caught up with it. It's like it's entertainment. I think people take a little too seriously the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Behind the scenes stuff.
I think people should just be happy that people that they like have work, especially coming out of a pandemic where so many people have been laid off or whatever. It's funny because some of the wrestlers at NWA have either been at, at both AEW or WWE, and they're giving each other hugs and, oh yeah, man, I'm going here, like, where fans are just like super territorial. And it's interesting now where fans like are trying to hijack and be a part of it versus just like appreciate it and enjoy it.
Right.
I mean, just be happy that people are getting paid, be happy that it's on TV, be happy that you can go out and you don't have to, be watching empty arena matches and all that stuff. Like, just be appreciative of it all. And you might not like it or whatever, but that's okay. You don't have to go on some message board and say all this hurtful, hateful stuff. That's unfortunately the world that we live in, whether it's wrestling or television or any form of entertainment or even art. People are just so angry, and they have, they can say things without really any repercussion. And, it's not nice or whatever.
It's not. My question to you, you photographing a lot of these wrestlers and posting a lot of it, even behind the scenes or just your photo shoots in general, do you get a lot of heat just by the people that you're photographing if they are heels, or just in general, someone that is not a crowd favorite? Do you get that heat personally because you're photographing them?
The wrestlers always, I have a great relationship for the most part with all of them when I take their photograph. I mean, my job is to make them, in my mind anyway, is to make them larger than life. Superstar type of thing. I think any publicity for them is good publicity unless it's a photo that they don't like or whatever. But for the most part, the wrestlers themselves don't mind it at all. I'm not big enough for like people to care about really in terms of the photography world. I mean, there's a bunch of other photographers that work for other places that have like thousands upon thousands of followers or whatever. I'm just a country boy photographer or whatever, if you will, just super, I'm more concerned about just taking good pictures than having, people love or hate or whatever. I mean, I'll see sometimes people post on like, superstars that have large followings and then they'll say, oh, you suck and stuff like that. But I mean, that's wrestling, right? You're supposed to boo and cheer, and it goes into different, like if you're booing like somebody that's a bad guy on their Instagram or Twitter, you suck, that kind of stuff, I'm fine. But like when you draw the line and say like personal things, you know what I mean? Like there's an acceptable way to talk trash or whatever versus like the garbage that a lot of people do because they want to feel like they're inside the business and, use real life to, hurt people.
I think a wrestler that comes to mind who's probably the most hated heel in the business right now would be Matt Cardona. I guess you could argue it's Roman Reigns, but whatever. We're talking about outside of WWE and AEW. Matt Cardona, This guy has exploded over the last, year and a half, being formerly in WWE and just becoming the biggest thing, I think, in my opinion, outside with the WWE.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I was saying something about somebody posting their photo, I was referencing him because I'll just go on there. He has like 1 million followers and like he posted a video. I think what he's been able to do is beautiful. A guy that's been in the WWE system forever uses some of the programming ideas and media ways to, WWE, you love them or hate them, like they're a juggernaut when it comes to just multimedia and entertainment business, right? And he's used some of those lessons in other, GCW, NWA, Impact, like he's just going around making towns, almost like a territory type system. His character is just going around and, doing his thing. And like, it really resonates just because I always find when I watch wrestling, the best part is like, is he talking like it's real? Like, they bend the lines of reality and fictions, and he's so awesome at, straddling that line and, getting people to hate him because he embraces his WWE heritage, where a lot of people just, oh, yeah, I worked there, I don't care about it. For him, he's just like, yeah, I worked there. I mean, the stuff that he did with GCW, it's just like, wow, coming out dressed like Vince, we had the black thing, and I was just like, this is some of the best stuff, and it's not even televised on a regular show, so.
Right. Yeah. When someone is able to, like you said, kind of break that line, like between reality and wrestling, and is this a character? Is this real? Like when someone's able to do that, that's when they reach a whole different level. And that's what makes, to me, wrestling, that just make it fantastic. You know what I mean? Like that's great stuff. And like you're saying, it's not even on TV, but because of the internet and social media, we're basically able to see all that stuff because somebody's posting it, he's posting, or he's got people posting, or fans are posting it. Liz goes to a lot of shows out in Los Angeles, and the indie scene, to me, I mean, it's awesome. Just the stuff that you're seeing out there that's not on TV. It's like, man, I wish this was on TV. But I think the indie scene, with GCW, and some of these other organizations, MLW, there's a lot of stars out there. But unfortunately, you got the two big companies, WWE and AEW, and it just doesn't seem like they have any room anymore for any more stars. And that's okay because, the industry allows these guys and these ladies to really just blossom and create something outside of those organizations. So, excuse me. So maybe one day they do pop up there, and hopefully those fans, because sometimes WWE fans can be a little dense and like, oh, who's this person? Like,
oh, my brother is like that,
Really?
100%. If it's not AEW or WWE, he just doesn't care, like he's just like so just narrow minded, about a lot of stuff. So like, I'll just say, hey, did you see this? No, I don't watch that stuff. No, it's not good. It's not pro. It's minor leagues.
Leagues.
So I'm just like, I mean, like, we banter. I mean, it's good conversation,
Right.
But like, everyone's got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
Like, and then I always say to him, oh, well, WWF is just, a bunch of AWA guys repackaged in WWF, Hulk Hogan, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Jesse the Body Ventura, they were all, in AWA. Oh, well, it's different. No, it's the same thing, but,
right.
But it is what it is, but, for me, and it just doesn't matter. Like, that he just cares about that. That's fine. Whatever.
Well, hey man, we really appreciate you coming on the show today, and we'd love for you to hang out and kind of shoot the shit for a few and
Sure.
kind of talk all things wrestling, because that's what we do on the show. We try to embrace everybody.
Absolutely. We're all the same and all different. So we need to appreciate that. I mean, there's enough room in the sandbox for everybody to play. It doesn't have to be, you know, me versus you or anything like that. Just like if you don't like something, you don't like it. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with being different, Just respect other people. That's the issue that I, tend to have a lot of times with people.
And I think that's what social media is kind of taken away from people. There's no consequences for what people say. You know what I mean? Everybody hides behind their phone or their computer or whatever and feel like they can say pretty much to anybody whatever they want and, screw you. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I just wish people would be cognizant that, like, I know it's not popular because it's wrestling, but everyone has like some sort of feelings and like negativity. There's so much of it out there. It's so much harder to be nicer than it is to be mean. So just, appreciate, our time here. Like you said before, Foo Fighters drummer, life is short. It's precious, like it could be you or me or anybody else, so like appreciate those moments, appreciate that you're at a wrestling event, appreciate that, people are working, specifically when we live in a time now where there's inflation, there's a war going on. I mean, like entertainment should be the last thing that you're, screaming and saying hurtful things to other people about, like, you'll live a better life if you remove some of that hatred,
Exactly. Well, hey, man, tell our audience where to find you online,
Sure.
Any events coming up that you want to plug, where you're going to be at.
Yeah. Let's see. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Dead Lumens. Since I work for the National Wrestling Alliance, hold on, I got my thing.
Oh, there we go. I see the jacket.
Every Tuesday on Fight TV, or it's free on Fridays on YouTube. And then Saturday we have NWA USA. I believe it's at 12 o'clock. And you can, the National Wrestling Alliance Instagram, just, I think that's what it is. National Wrestling Alliance at Instagram and Twitter. And that's pretty much it. If you have lighting questions or whatever, reach out to me. I can help you with that too, just because it's, it's very easy. You just have to look at anything, take some time, and just, feel it out.
Well, I definitely probably could use some lighting advice. I mean, I got a green screen going on in the background, and I got the ATW All Things Wrestling podcast. But yeah, I'm loving the lighting you got going on back there.
I appreciate it. If you go to Home Depot and spend, maybe they create these bulbs. Philips makes them, Hue. And then there's this other company that Philips bought out, WTX or something. So it's like $13 a bulb. And then you can just control it on your phone. So like this.
Oh, wow.
This light here is just a light bulb. The light over here is a light bulb. And then since I work in lighting, tape light, it's just like a strip of light that's not like a tape. It has an adhesive and
you like that one right here.
Yeah. So you have it.
Hey, we got matching colors.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, a little goes a long way with just a couple of different lights,
Well, I got a question in regards to that.
Sure.
My partner, she's an artist, and she's trying to find a good way to take pictures of her canvas, her art, and stuff like that. But she's not a photographer; she's an artist. So, any suggestions on that?
Yeah, sure. For pictures or something like that, always something flat. I mean, even on if she has an iPhone, they'll have like a thing that'll give you, it's almost it's hard to explain, but it'll tell you if it's not even. For things like that, even if she just has two lights like on both sides of the painting or whatever it is, you can get away with one, but two will illuminate both sides of it, so then it's even
and it looks nice and bright.
Yeah, or if or the easiest way to circumvent that is to just go outside on a sunny day, lay it down on the ground or facing the sun, and then just take a picture of it like that too.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I'll definitely. I'm sure she'll catch this, so she'll probably appreciate that. So
yeah,
thank you for that.
Oh, no problem at all. I'm so thankful that you folks had me on. I appreciate it. This is actually my first podcast talking about photography, so
awesome.
Hopefully, people enjoy it and I'll get better at it. But thanks for checking out my stuff and having me on.
Hey, absolutely, man. Thank you for coming on. I mean, I love talking to not only wrestlers because that's always fun, but
Mhm.
we've had announcers on, and now pro wrestling photographers. Love to see things behind the scenes. I'm always fascinated, about that stuff. So,
Oh, sure.
but yeah, thank you for coming on because
Oh, I
love your
appreciate it.
work, and you did some amazing photos, with that NWA with the Crockett Cup. Those
Mhm.
pictures, some of them were just awesome. With the Luchadors, that one was probably one
Oh,
of my
thank you.
favorite.
Yeah, I love those guys. La Rebellion. Those guys always take so much effort into their gear. Like they just pump money into it. It's like an investment. And like every time every taping they have like two different new things. So it's like, it's always a privilege and a pleasure. It's just like it's magic. And then they're so patient because I'm crazy about lighting. So they're always just like, dude, take your time, man. I love your stuff, man. The longer it takes, as long as it's good. And, they like it. So they're just like, no, 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 you're an artist, man. Do your stuff. So I love those guys. They're always like one of the highlights of shooting just because they just every time they bring it up to the next level. So
Well, yeah, that's awesome. And the Luchadors, I mean, some of their get-ups, I mean, it's just awesome looking, just seeing that. So now we're about 6 days out from WrestleMania.
mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they decide they want to make it a 2-day event. I'm not crazy about the 2-day show because I feel like there's not a lot of content going on. Liz, is there anything that you're looking forward to? I know last week we talked with Kenny from the Call Up podcast. We got a little bet going between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, who we think's going to win. Ed, do you have anything to say in regards to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar? Are you tired of Roman Reigns as the WWE champ over there? Do you want to see Lesnar
No.
with the belt?
I love Roman. I think what he's done and the way that he has been able to, you know, boo, yay, boo, we hate Roman. Roman's being shoved down our throats. Suffering succotash or whatever the thing he said that one time, like to being the head of the table. He almost reminds me of The Rock, but just a lot longer to get to that point. In the sense of just like, people don't like him or whatever, and then he transforms into, The Rock or whatever. I think with Roman, it took a very long time to get to that place of just like being comfortable on camera and being able to just embrace like people hating him. And he does it so well, and just like the small mannerisms of, his delivery and just it almost now like he feeds off the energy of the crowd. And, he'll come out and say the acknowledge me thing, and everybody in that audience is saying it with him, I hope that he beats Brock again.
Oh.
No, I do, just because, and this is why, I mean, Brock, if he wins, it's not going to do anything for him, in my opinion. He's Brock Lesnar. He's like a extravaganza, larger than life thing. Having the belt on him or off him, it doesn't change anything at all. Roman, like baseball, numbers are, important. The amount of days that he's had the WWE title. I think, that is, for me as a fan of him, I just think for him to hold it as long as possible is great, So like, I hope he wins, and then he's just gonna get more people will hate him if he beats him, because everyone's like, oh, Brock is gonna win him. So for me, I'm all about that. I'm all about Charlotte and Ronda too. I'm interested to see who's gonna win that. I think Ronda will probably win, but their feud has been interesting. It'll be interesting to see who Seth fights, if he fights at all. Everyone has their own opinion about who's gonna face him, but I don't know. In terms of it being 2 days, I agree with you. I just think that it's a lot. In terms of money, WWE wants to capitalize on the most amount of money possible. I think 2 days, though, you get kind of exhausted by it, in the sense of it being very long, but also just like there's a lot of, fatigue. What's going on here? Who's this? And then, whereas one day it's like, okay, I'm tired, but like this is like the Super Bowl or whatever. 2 days, it's kind of like, you have to plan you have to stop the whole weekend to do it,
Right.
So
Yeah, and I'm not crazy about the whole 2-day thing, but
Mhm.
Liz, has your opinion changed, or are we still going for Brock Lesnar?
I'm still going for Brock. I'm sorry. I'm Brock all the way, anytime. So I'm still going for him. I mean, I'm not taking anything from Roman. I love Roman as well. I'm just a huge Brock Lesnar fan. So that's where I'm at. But the 2-day thing, honestly, for me, it actually benefits me this year. So I can't complain too much because I have something going on Saturday. So I'm missing out Saturday.
Mhm.
So I am stoked to see something live Sunday. But previous years, like last year that they did the 2 days, same thing. You have to stop your entire weekend, because you're going to sit at home, watch wrestling, or, or even barbecue, or, things like that, whatever the case is. But you are stopping your entire weekend just, to sit down and watch wrestling. I mean, we all love it. We all enjoy it. But I mean, for me personally, I'm like, the weekends are the only time that I kind of have, like,
Right.
to do stuff. So I'm like, I gotta stop everything. This year I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna sacrifice myself and watch it the next day. So, but I this year, like I said, to the 2-day kind of benefited me in a way. So I'm not complaining too much.
I just want to say I love this new version of Brock Lesnar too. Don't get me wrong. I think that it's great, and there's evolution. Anytime a talent can, change slightly but show who they are, like it's just great. I just, I want Roman to win. I just love when he says, "I'm going to smash you" and stuff like that. My wife hates it, so and I'm just like, you realize by you saying I hate him and booing him, you're eating right out of his hands. That's what he wants you to do. And she's like, no, I know, but I hate it when he says that, blah blah. So I'm just like, okay, he's doing it.
Well, I think that's a big thanks to Paul Heyman. I think Paul Heyman has definitely had a huge impact on Roman's evolution of his character. Paul Heyman, to me, hands down, Paul Heyman, Bobby the Brain Heenan, maybe two of the best wrestling brains in the history of wrestling. Like Bobby Heenan of that generation, Paul Heyman now. I mean, those two guys, being a manager, whatever, advocate, whatever Paul Heyman wants to call himself, the two best ever, for sure.
I agree. Hands down. I love the Weasel, and I love Paul Heyman just because he's like salt or sugar to a dish, like he's not the whole dish, but he, like, in terms of flavoring, he just adds a little bit extra, a little bit of depth to what's going on. And by adding that, he's also taking pressure off a little bit. And then, I mean, even with Brock Lesnar, he just added that. And, Brock can talk too, but like more and more he became comfortable. And, with Roman, it's the same thing. And it's just, just fortunate to be able to witness it, because wrestling's been kind of like, there's so much of it, so it's just like, but that is just like, that is the bee's knees, that whole feud right now. Like, to me, it's just like, I can't get enough of it.
I think I've had enough of it. I think the culmination at WrestleMania.
Sure.
I kind of hope that's it. I mean, I'll agree with you. It's been great. But I'm kind of ready for it to end.
Yeah, I get it.
I just don't know what they're gonna do next with that. Depending on who wins, like, is Lesnar going to kind of go away for a while? This is probably the most we've seen of Lesnar consistently in many years. So I don't know. I'm loving the new Brock Lesnar. So I guess we'll just kind of see what happens.
I think it'll be also interesting to see how the programming will be, just because it's a unified belt. So now the champion will be on both shows, whereas like SmackDown will still have, their championship or championships, the females and the tag titles, etc. But like the only crossover is the heavyweight champion, or is it just like temporarily where they have to fight on one night for the one championship and then the other night? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
it'll be kind of interesting to see that. And then, but I mean, that's the beauty of being the armchair quarterback, or the curse of it. I might think one thing, and then next week it's completely swerve and change, and then it's just like, oh man, they don't know what they're doing. And then 4 weeks, it's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. We live in the age of information. So it's like, I want this immediately, instead of just letting it slowly simmer and build
wait for it. Because 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, in my opinion, when Chris Jericho debuted for WWF, I think that is the biggest debut of any wrestler anywhere ever, and nothing will top that. But think about how it could have been ruined by social media, right? And all these, it's just it takes away from it a little bit. You know, you got the whole Cody Rhodes thing, and they pretty much confirmed that he signed with WWE a few weeks ago. So, I mean, so when he shows up, it's not really a surprise. You know what I mean? It's going to be a surprise if he fights Cody or Seth Rollins at Mania. Is that going to be his opponent? I think everyone's pretty much leaning that's who his opponent's going to be. But, I mean, we'll see. WWE has kind of swerved us before. Maybe he shows up on Raw the night after. I mean, we don't know, but it sounds like confirmed 100% he's going back to WWE.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting story within itself, but you're absolutely right with the Chris Jericho stuff. I mean, they did little hints and stuff like that, but now everyone has a camera. Now, if somebody's in the airport, they take a picture, and then within, a minute, somebody picks it up. One of the major places picks it up, and then somebody shares it, and then next thing you know, the surprise is gone. Just remember, we all have an option not to go on social media to find those things out, but
it's so hard. I mean, once it's out there, you're like, oh shit.
I understand that. Trust me, I'm aware.
Temptation.
I get it. I understand. But I mean, it is what it is, right? It's a good problem to have, I guess, that we can have all this information, but it's also like it's horrible just because it's like, even if you watch a television show, you missed it one day and then you go on there and somebody, posts the ending or whatever. So
yeah,
it is. I hope that he does come out at WrestleMania, even though it's, I guess the cat's out of the bag or whatever. I think it'll be cool just because he's the first to leave AEW and he's such a prominent, or was a prominent figure there. And, I always looked at him as the AEW John Cena, even though some people might not think that, just because he always wanted to be good and he was all for the fans and the kids, and like you'd boo him, but he'd deliver a promo and you're just like, that was really good promo. And like the match, oh, that's a good match, but then it's just like the cool kind of thing to boo him or whatever.
Right.
And then when he's gone, you're just like, oh, we miss him. Where is he?
Right.
Not having seen on the past few Manias or whatever, you're just like, you miss that kind of thing.
I know Liz does. She definitely misses John Cena.
I miss him on a weekly basis.
Right. Well, hey, we're excited. We're pumped. Hopefully, WrestleMania, they pull out all the stops, because I think that's what people are really wanting for this year's Mania. Last year we were kind of, we're still kind of in the pandemic. Now we're kind of coming out of it. So hopefully WWE pulls out all the stops. Ed, I really appreciate you being on the show today. That's going to do it for us today. If you guys wouldn't mind hanging out for a minute or so after we go off the air.
Yep.
But you could find Ed on social media. You said it was at Dead Lumens, right?
Yep.
On Instagram.
And, Instagram and Twitter. Yep.
Keep an eye out for all those amazing NWA photos. Heel Liz, my co-host, thank you very much today. We're looking forward to WrestleMania next week. Hopefully we have something special planned for our show next week. So tune in for that. Anyways, I'm your host, Tony Twist. This is ATW, All Things Wrestling Podcast. Happy Sunday. Enjoy your weekend, guys. And we're out of here.